Why did you come on this trip if you're just going to mooch off us? You're nothing but a broke old lady." My brother's words echoed in my mind as I stared at the ceiling, feeling a wave of anger and sadness wash over me. I had been constantly disappointed by my family, and this was just the latest in a long line of offenses. I decided it was time to stand up for myself and show them what real strength looked like. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Lucy, a 30-year-old office worker. I've been in a loving relationship for the past 3 years with Alan, a true gentleman who treats me with utmost respect and care. We first met in college, where he was a senior. I often sought his advice on work-related and personal matters. He always listened attentively and provided sound counsel. After we both graduated and started working, we continued to meet regularly. One day, Alan confessed his feelings for me, and we began dating. Our relationship has been smooth and fulfilling ever since, and we're even contemplating marriage. One day, Alan proposed to me, saying, "Lucy, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Will you marry me?" Of course, I said yes. We immediately informed our families of our engagement. The first meeting between Alan and my family was filled with tension. "Nice to meet you, Lucy," my future mother-in-law said warmly. "I've heard so much about you from Alan. You're just as lovely as he described." Was relieved to see that Alan's mother was kind and welcoming, which contrasted sharply with the anxiety I felt about introducing Alan to my own family. My family dynamics were far from perfect. The root of my discomfort with my family dates back to my childhood. My parents were both exceptional athletes. My mother excelled in track and field, and my father was a star soccer player. Their athletic prowess earned them college scholarships, and they expected the same from their children. Unfortunately, I lacked the athletic ability they hoped for. Despite my attempts at various sports, basketball, swimming, table tennis, and even figure skating, I was never more than average. When my younger brother Kyle was born, he was immersed in sports from a young age. Kyle had a natural talent for soccer, which delighted my parents. They shifted their focus entirely to him, leaving me feeling like a disappointment. My parents frequently compared me to Kyle, praising his achievements while belittling mine. They completely disregarded my academic successes, insisting that studying wasn't as valuable as athletic prowess. As Kyle grew up, he became increasingly arrogant, often mocking me with cruel comments like, "Lucy, you're a loser and a jinx. If you weren't here, Mom and Dad could invest more in me." Their lack of support and constant comparisons shattered my self-esteem. Despite my efforts to succeed academically and professionally, I always felt overshadowed by Kyle's achievements. Kyle went on to receive a soccer scholarship and attended college, while I worked hard to pay back my student loans. Eventually, Kyle's soccer career faltered, and he had to find a job, but my parents continued to dote on him. During family gatherings, especially Christmas, my parents introduced me as their disappointing daughter, and Kyle as their pride and joy. Despite my stable job and achievements, they treated me with disdain. Over time, I stopped participating in family gatherings and felt anxious about introducing Alan to them. After years of hesitation, I decided to visit my family and inform them about my engagement. When I called my mother, her response was cold and dismissive. "Why should we go through such trouble? Just get married on your own," she replied. Her lack of warmth was disheartening. Kyle's voice chimed in from the background. "Really sounds fun. I want to see how lame her fiancé is. Let's invite them." Despite my reservations, I arranged for Alan and me to visit my family. Alan warned me to be prepared for potential mistreatment. "This isn't a joke. I want to meet your family," he insisted. We drove to my family's home, only to find the door locked. Using my key, we entered to find my family waiting in the living room. Was surprised to see an unfamiliar young woman with them. "Hi everyone, it's been a while. This is my fiancé, Alan," I introduced him. My family's reaction was unexpected. "Wow, I thought Lucy would bring home a boring, unattractive guy. But he's actually decent," Kyle commented rudely, causing Alan to awkwardly chuckle. Was further shocked when Kyle introduced the woman beside him. "She's my wife, Mia. We've been married for a year," he announced nonchalantly. was stunned. "You got married without telling me?" I asked, shocked. My mother responded with irritation. "It's none of your business if Kyle got married." The conversation turned to Alan's profession. My father asked, "What do you do for a living?" "It can't be anything impressive." Couldn't let them belittle Alan. "He's a lawyer," I said proudly, as Alan handed his business card to my father. My father's initial dismissiveness turned to surprise. "A lawyer? That's impressive." My family's attitude shifted instantly. They became overly enthusiastic, asking Alan about his salary and even making audacious requests for designer gifts. Alan handled it with calm dignity, stating, "You can't make such demands. Even though we're meeting for the first time, we're going to be family, so let's try to get along." Despite their change in demeanor, I was dismayed by their sudden interest in Alan's success. 2 months later, Alan and I got married. My family, who had previously been indifferent, attended the wedding. Afterward, they began contacting us frequently, inviting us to dinner and suggesting outings. Suspected they were motivated by Alan's wealth and were not willing to fall for their manipulative behavior. When my mother invited us on a family trip to celebrate her 50th birthday, I reluctantly agreed. Alan and I decided to join, hoping for a chance to spend quality time together. When I reviewed the trip's arrangements, I was dismayed to find luxury hotels and high-end restaurants. Despite my irritation at their extravagance, I proceeded with the bookings. Upon arrival in Florida, Alan and I separated from my family, choosing to explore on our own. At the high-end restaurant where we were supposed to meet my family, things took a turn for the worse. "You're late," my mother snapped as we arrived. Then the situation escalated. "We're here to discuss business with Alan, not you," they said. "Thanks for paying for this fancy dinner and hotel stay, but you're done here. You don't deserve any of this." Their words cut deeply. I was disgusted by their behavior. Feeling utterly betrayed, I whispered to Alan, "You'll regret this." We quickly left, and I booked a room at a different hotel where I enjoyed a relaxing evening with Alan. Kyle called, furious. "What did you do?" Alan left before the food arrived, and we had to pay the bill. Alan eventually arrived at our new hotel, grinning. "Did it work?" "Were they mad?" he asked eagerly. "Yes, they were furious," I said. They were going to pay for everything and still acted like that. Even Alan was stunned by their behavior. We enjoyed a meal at the hotel's upscale restaurant and relaxed in our room. The next morning, we changed our flight to avoid traveling with my family. My mother called, furious about the hotel bill. "What's the meaning of this? We can't afford $1,000 per person," she yelled. Calmly explained, "I planned to cover the trip as a gesture of gratitude, but you messed up by kicking us out." My mother's surprise was palpable. "You were going to pay for all this?" she asked. "Yes," I confirmed. "I earn significantly more than Dad and have substantial savings." Ended the call and blocked all their numbers. Luckily, they didn't know where we lived or worked, so they couldn't show up unannounced. However, they made a scene at Alan's law firm, leading to Kyle breaking office equipment and their subsequent arrest. My father and Kyle lost their jobs and now struggle with part-time work. Meanwhile, Alan and I continue to live happily. I'm pregnant, and we recently celebrated the birth of our beautiful daughter with Alan's mother. We're cherishing our new family and enjoying a fulfilling life together.